March, April is the time when the injuries hit and the fatigue builds. One day we will hit Inaki Williams' levels of consistency as he reaches 6 years playing every single La Liga game. But until then, we have something to aim for, and honestly, just be thankful we're back. Welcome to the Anglo-Italian pod. As always, my name is Ruairi, and I'm finally again joined by my good friend.
Feels like a lifetime ago. Tommi, welcome to episode 59, season 2 of the Anglo-Italian pod. It's a good thrill to be back. Make sure you follow us on Instagram at Anglo-Italian pod, on Twitter at Italian Anglo pod, and you give a cheeky little follow to our good friend and sponsor at the Sports Club Maps. Rory, we are back from the Easter holidays. How have you been? Tell us everything about your beautiful trip along the Bel Paese, along the boot, Lo Stivale, Italy.
It was incredible. Finally, I honestly feel like... so I had a friend and his girlfriend visit, and it's the first time I've seen them since Christmas. It's the first time he's come out to visit me in any of the countries I've lived in, and I think we did enough drinking to make up for the 10 years that he's not visited. It was... You might be able to hear it in my voice a little bit.
I definitely can.
Yeah. It was a long weekend. So we did... first we did Milan, then we went to Como, and then we went to Florence. It was my first time in Florence. Unbelievable city. Like, I know everyone I've talked to has been like falling in love with it instantly. It is like an open air museum.
100%.
We didn't like go in any museums or anything. We literally just walked around, like did the free walking tours and visited possibly every bar in the city. A few too many Americans. Sorry, American listeners. A few too many Americans. But it was a beautiful city. Really, really enjoyed it. And going back to work today was like a proper reality check. But then we get another day off on Monday, right? So you can't complain too much.
Did you get to see the stadium in Florence or not?
We didn't. On the way yesterday, my mates went early and they have zero interest in football. Can you imagine? So I didn't want to drag them to the stadium, but I was quite happy to drag the missus to the stadium. But then we saw it and it was like 40 minutes on the tram and we kind of had half a day in the city and it would have been a tough sell to be like, okay, let's use this half day to look at an empty stadium. So next time I will definitely go. Next time.
We'll organize a pod trip to Firenze to watch an actual game, maybe.
Man, I would love it. I would absolutely love it. It was an incredible city. I definitely recommend it. The meat is possibly... Oh, I had bistecca Fiorentina, and oh my days. It was honestly like... It's kind of like almost a religious experience. When I first ate it, I was like, this might be one of the greatest things I've ever eaten.
How many kilos was it, the one that you got?
It was a kilogram. But then I obviously didn't eat that myself. We split it between 3. But even then, the missus only had a little bit. Me and Brad split most of it, and I was pretty full by the end of it. I mean, it's the size of this thing. It was all easily, like, I don't know, 2 inches thick or something. It was ridiculous.
No, it's big. It's big. That's the steak, the typical steak from Florence, yeah?
Yeah, and it has to be cooked rare. The restaurant we went had a sign that was like, vietato chiedere per bistecca cotto.
Okay, so forbidden to ask for well cooked steak because that's the only way they made it raw.
Yeah.
But my curiosity is: have you tried the sandwich that I recommended, the one with lampredotto with the tripe? No.
The second I saw it was tripe. When you mentioned it to me, I was like, and then I saw it and I was like, "There's no way. There's far too much good salami and steak for me to start eating the stomachs." I think I'm all right. Maybe one day after a few beers, we'll try it. But...
It's great. If you go to Florence, I highly recommend it to anybody, but I understand that there are some people, like my friend Rory, who are not too much into eating the interiors of an animal. My school of thought is the animal is already dead.
Well,
you might as well, just go at it and just eat the entire thing.
Well, this is exactly, and I do. I appreciate the resourcefulness, but I'll let someone else enjoy it. But Tommy, it's like we did a kind of job swap because then where were you for the holidays?
I was in London, and guys, I've fallen in love with the city of London. It's it's a massive city. It was the first time that I kind of understood the position of the different boroughs, the different neighborhoods. It's big. It's definitely not like in Milan. You can go out on Navigli and then you say, oh, then we'll see what to do and we'll move to another neighborhood. No, in London, you kind of have to plan everything in advance. but the weather was insane. I was wearing a t-shirt most of the time. We met with a good friend of the pod, Claudia, who took us along the canals from Hackney all the way to Camden Town. It was great. It felt like being in Amsterdam. A lot of people out and about having beers, just enjoying the sun. And I don't know, I feel like I could go. I have different friends who have lived in London throughout the years. And I have a feeling that if I went to London on separate trips with each of them, I would experience something completely different. Like my good friend Giulio, he's very into rock music. He worked at Abbey Road Studios. I know that if I went with him, he would show me around all these beautiful bars, live music and everything. Then there is the friend who's into football. If I went with him, he would show me all the stadiums and everything. And look, it was incredible. And when I left, it was one of the few times that I came back from a trip and on the train to the airport. Spoiler alert, I was drunk on the train to the airport. I was looking out the window and I felt like I had only scraped the surface of an incredible town with so many different cultures, so many different influences, and it was great. I got to see the Arsenal Stadium.
You did. The picture will go on our social media this weekend.
It's I'm wearing this jacket that makes my belly look bigger than it is. I'm not saying that I don't have one.
Mate, my belly is definitely bigger than before I went to Florence, I'll be honest.
Look, the only thing about London, the prices, but I knew it would be like that. It's not that much more expensive than Milan, but still, it put quite a dent on my bank account. But look, I hadn't traveled to a foreign capital in a while, and I was just happy to be there. But yeah, great atmosphere, vibrant city. I almost got run over like 15 times on the street. Look, I will just say this, and then we'll move to football. You know how they ride on the road, look left, look right. Every time I see that sign, my brain plays this trick on me, and it's like, remember that they're doing everything backwards. So I look the opposite way. I actually look the opposite way. And then there will be a taxi beeping at me. Also, I have a feeling that cars don't give a fuck in London. Like, they barely honk. I feel like I've risked being run over multiple times, but only once have they honked at me.
Yeah, I think maybe we don't use the horn as willingly as the Italians. But I feel like Italian driving is next level terrifying.
But moving to football, or almost moving to football, we are recording on a Thursday. It's the 21st of April. We're talking about England. Now we're moving to football. It's the Queen Elizabeth's 96th birthday.
Woo! Happy birthday, Madge.
How excited are you that today it's the Queen's birthday?
Yeah, obviously, like every good English boy last night, or English person, I could hardly sleep at the thought of it being her birthday today. Honestly, Tommy had to remind me when we came onto the record. He had to be, yeah. Of course.
Why did I remind Rory? Because we have a brand new game. It's a game called Was This Club Born Before or After Queen Elizabeth? So Rory, she was born in 1926. Now I'm going to go with the 7 different clubs, and you have to guess if they were born before or after. Are you ready to take on this panel?
Let's do it.
Are you ready? All right. Napoli, before or after?
After.
It was after. It was in August of the same year. Udinese, before or after?
Before.
Before. I didn't know about this, but 1896.
I remember, for some reason, I remember seeing 18 on the badge or something. 18 came into my head. I'm not sure why.
Fiorentina, before or after?
After.
After, just a few months after. Also like Naples in August 1926. What about Red Star Belgrade, before or after?
It's a tricky one. Before.
Way after.
Damn, I wanted the 5.
1945. This is way after.
That makes so much sense. Anyway, yeah.
Atletico Madrid, before or after?
Atletico Madrid, before or after? After.
Before. 1903. We've got 2 more. Olympique Lyonnais, before or after?
No, I'm out of my head now. Before.
It's way after.
Damn it!
1950.
I've gone now. I've gone. Yeah,
And the last one, Wigan, before or after?
Before.
It was after 1932.
Damn.
It's one of the youngest clubs in England. I had to look it up on Google. Youngest clubs in England. But yeah, quite a few clubs that were born way after. Our good friend, listener of the pod, she often emails us, Queen Elizabeth. Happy birthday once again, but we're here to finally talk about football. In this episode, we're going to have a friend of the show, Uncle Sharma, on to talk about Inter, everything nerazzurro in our weekly topic section. In our Euroreview, we're going to review Coppa Italia and Premier League action. But before we start, I just wanted to say that Roma Leicester tickets for the semifinals of the Conference League have sold out in less than 24 hours. Yep. Wow. I think this is going to be an exciting game.
The queue online was 110,000 people queuing for tickets. Someone put a screenshot up of their position in the queue, and it was 109,300 and something. It was insane. That is going to be. This is like no matter the level of the European competition, by the time it gets to semi-final stage, it's going to be exciting. If you know what I mean. Already you're like, yeah, Roma Leicester's going to be a hell of a game. That final, whoever's there, will be a great final.
Write the dates down. We've got April 26th, Manchester City, Real Madrid. April 27th, Liverpool, Villarreal, and then on the 28th of April, on the same day, we've got 4 semifinals, both for the Conference League and the Europa League. We are getting to the final stretch. We are super excited. And Rory, I will let you go before we jump to the Euro review.
Final thing. Previous guest of the show, Ayman Zayed, has his team are now running the North Colorado Hailstorm, and they recently, as in last night, knocked out an MLS team in Real Salt Lake. They knocked them out of the US Open Cup, which is a cup competition that they've formed, which is the MLS, the USL Championship, League One, and League Two. They all play like an FA Cup type vibe, and they won 1-0 in Salt Lake. It was an Irishman who scored the penalty, and it's just an update. So far, they've had quite a good start to the season. They won 1 cup game, won 1, drawn 1, lost 1, and then beat Real Salt Lake City. There's a lot of Irish players in this team, it looks like. So Ayman Zayed definitely is using his home connections, but so far, so good.
He lured them over, and there is one of them that we're in talks with. We've been in talks with. It just feels hard with the time difference in Colorado, but he's going to be on the pod before the end of the season. And since we're talking about the United States, we promised our listeners from Minneapolis that we would back the Timberwolves in these NBA playoffs. The series is currently tied 1-1 against Memphis, 1 win on the road for the Timber Puppies. Tonight, they will be back for the series in Minneapolis. Our friends Carl, Reed, and many more are going to Target Center to see the game. It's going to be the first playoff game that the Timberwolves have played in a long time. Good luck, and make sure that Howlometer goes all the way to the roof. And let's jump to the Euro review if we're ready, and let's actually talk everything football.
It's Euro review time. Are you excited, Tommy? I'm excited.
I am excited. Where are we starting from, Rory?
We're going to start let's start with the Coppa Italia. I feel like, well, you were there, Tommy. You were there to witness it. The headline game. I'm sorry, Brad, if you're listening. He's definitely not listening. Doesn't give a shit about football. But when we were in Florence on the Tuesday night and I wasn't there, I was properly gutted, especially as I got a slurry of like text messages from Tommy, like, man, the atmosphere is insane and we are drunk in capital letters. I was like, damn, I kind of wish I was there right now. How good was it? Take us through it.
Look, I came back from London Monday night very late, and then Tuesday I slept in quite a long time, and then I was just excited for this game. It was So there have been 3 Milan derbies, and Inter hadn't won any of them. And you know how Italians don't really care that much about Coppa Italia, but you could feel it around the city. Like a derby, it was a derby first and foremost. And it's interesting because I feel like this game that was played in another competition could have a saying in who is going to win the title. We are going to get there with Uncle Sharma. But look, I have to say one thing. I want to congratulate supporters on both sides of the stadium. The atmosphere at the San Siro was unlike any I had ever seen there. The two curvas were just packed. The AC Milan fans, I want to say, I really didn't research online, but that's what it looked like. I feel like the AC Milan curva gave every single supporter a red shirt, they must have given them instructions on how to clap their hands because they were super coordinated, and it really looked like, those supporters from Poland or from Greece.
Okay, from Iceland and stuff.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Arms open wide, then you clap in the middle, and then you reopen them wide. It looked intimidating. Inter's choreography was mad. It was incredible. We held those banners high up for like 5 minutes, I want to say. My arms were dying. But look, the atmosphere was so intense between the supporters that at time it was difficult to follow the game because you could hear, there were so many people singing at the same time that you could hear each and every word of the chants right away. And so you took it personally. You were just like, no, guys, we got to clap back with another chant. And then it's just like, and then I have a pretty loud voice. So you know how it's also down to the supporter in every section to create kind of like the momentum, Man, it was great. I was voiceless by the end of the game. Great win, 3-0. Did Inter get lucky? Let's get to it right away. Now, I think it was a very closely contested game, and both teams played very, very well. I disagree with Arrigo Sacchi saying that it was a low-quality game of football, and there were many mistakes on both sides, and it was embarrassing to watch. That's what he said.
Wow. So he took the loss well.
Yeah, exactly. I was like, yes, there were a lot of mistakes on both for both teams, but I like the attitude that Inter walked on the pitch with. We really needed it. 2-0 up after the first half. That was great. And then the very controversial thing, AC Milan actually score one goal, and it's 2-1. And at that point, if AC Milan score another one, since the away goals still count in Coppa Italia for some fucking reason.
Even though you play,
AC Milan, if they had drawn the game 2-2, they would have gone through. So let's say that it was kind of a decisive moment that goal was ruled out. Now, why was it ruled out? At first, the Inter players appealed for a handball. Then the VAR called the referee. The referee went looking at the play. There was no handball. However, there was a passive offside. I believe it was Tomori who was walking in front of Andanovic. It was a very close call. I do not believe it's a scandal. I've seen VAR ruling out I don't know, worse situations than this.
We've seen it on by the pixel of a foot, if you know what I mean. Like, it's been close calls.
Yeah. Did it? Andanovic was actually walking the opposite way as the defender. So it's a controversial decision. I will give it that adjective. But if you stick by the book, I think that it can be ruled out. Did it change the game? Look, I cannot predict I cannot predict how the future would have unfolded if that goal had been given. All I know is that it was 2-1. It still takes time to score another goal, and eventually Inter scored a third. And I think that 3-0, yes, you can recriminate for that referee decision, but I don't think you can blame it on the referee for not having won that game. What's your take, Rory?
Yeah, I think you're right. If I was a Milan fan, I'd be saying, but the momentum of the game could have changed, especially with like a heavily charged atmosphere and like how Milan have done well against Inter kind of across this season. But I think it seemed like a fairly, sensible decision to me. I think the goals that I saw from Inter were really, really nice goals. Lautaro's first goal in particular was a very, very nice goal.
Oh my God. Assist by Darmian. I know that Uncle Sharma, we're going to jump with him soon, but I know that Uncle Sharma has a soft spot for good old Matteo. Always a decisive goal, a decisive assist.
It's something that I'm not going to say because we're going to talk about. I want to talk about Perisic with Sharma as well, but I feel like the scoreline flattered Inter a little bit, but overall we now get another terrible game, Inter versus Juve in the final. But before we talk about Juve Fiorentina, we need to talk about the biggest thing, Tommy. The Emperor was in the stadium. Adriano was
Mate,
in the stadium.
look, that guy, the love that the Nerazzurri fans have for that guy is insane. The voice started spreading throughout the curva. Oh,
Mhm.
look.
Look
Adriano's
who
on the
it is. Look who it
sideline.
is.
Adriano's on the sideline. He's clapping. He was crying, man. He's like, Adriano will forever feel, we know that he's had his problems with the law and everything. But to me, Adriano will forever be a big baby, like big baby. And forever he will live in my memory with the Inter kit. The good thing maybe that his career ended a bit early is that, yes, he went to other clubs, but whenever you think of Adriano, you just think of him wearing that Inter kit. It was emotional, and Inter Milan had so many posts on Instagram about him being back, and it just felt good that he was there to witness such a big and important win. Definitely.
No, that's it, exactly. And I've seen a video of him on the training ground today with Inzaghi, and Inzaghi was saying to him, "You need to come and see us often, like come and visit." I think like they really do. I know, yeah. It pulled up my heartstrings a little bit. I was like, "Oh damn, I love seeing him there."
It was also very nice to see Nelson Dida, who is now the AC Milan goalkeeper trainer, going over to the Inter bench just to shake hands with Adriano. That was great to see.
Nice.
Finally reunited. And talking about Adriano, I've got a nice little stat for you. I will tell you right away, he's one of the three. But who are the other two Serie A players to get to 50 goals? The youngest, I would say. So the three youngest players to get to 50 goals.
In Serie A history?
Yeah, one is Adriano, one is currently playing, and the other one is a Brazilian who has been recently saying that he would like to be back at AC Milan. Alexandre Pato. Alexandre Pato, yeah, at 21 years and 221 days. Then we've got Dusan Vlahovic at
I was going to say Vlahovic is the other guess. I was going to say Vlahovic is a safe guess. I forget
22 years and 78 days, and Adriano 22 years and 291 days.
Shit, I forget how hyped Pato was, really. I forget how incredible he started.
It was very, very good. The other semi-final in Coppa Italia was Juventus-Fiorentina. Fiorentina had to overturn the last-minute goal scored over at the Artemio Franchi. They went to Turin. Unfortunately, things didn't really work that way. Juventus ended up winning 2-0 quite comfortably, I want to say. And Rory, I know that you really liked Federico Bernardeschi's goal for the 1-0.
I thought he hit it really well. The goalkeeper could definitely do better, but I thought he hit it really, really well. His touch and strike, I was like, that's a nice goal. Like the goalkeeper definitely should have done better, but I feel like Bernardeschi gets a lot of slander. He gets a lot of slander. And I feel like every so often he does something where I'm like, this guy's pretty good. He just doesn't do it often enough, obviously.
I can imagine how happy the Fiorentina fans were to see Bernardeschi, one of their former men, score a decisive goal against them. Yeah. But hey, we're going to talk about it with the Charms as well. This is why we're not going super in-depth about the Serie A or the Coppa Italia. We have a Serie A and the Inter expert coming on soon. But look, if you want to look at it this way, Inter Milan will have a saying on whether Juve end the season with a title or not. So we already snatched the title from them, the Supercoppa Italiana. Now we're going to play this final in Rome. If we win it, Juventus will not. And, well, about the league, I'm not going to say anything, but Juventus are definitely not going to lift that cup. Rory, let's move to the Premier League. There was quite a lot of action, quite a lot of things to talk about. Where do you want to start?
I'm going to start with Arsenal so I can get it out of the way, and then we'll see how much time we've got left, right? No, I think, okay, so this weekend, I feel like we both kind of took a bit of a holiday from football, right? We were with people, with friends, kind of didn't really pay attention. And it was really, really good. That was really nice because we lost to Southampton, and I refused to let it ruin my weekend, although the people I was with would probably say I allowed it to ruin a good few hours of the weekend. But I was so happy I didn't see that game. And then heading into this Chelsea game, I thought, oh, God, right. The 3 games we were supposed to win, we've lost. Now we've got Chelsea, United, and West Ham. We're going to go like 7 games without a win, maybe even 7 losses. Like, this is going to be, are we going to finish mid-table? Are we even going to get Europa League? I was in a bad place. About to sit down for the game yesterday, and the first half was absolutely mental. So we were gifted 2 goals, basically. Thank you, Christensen, just allowing Nketiah to go through and score. And then Chelsea got back straight away. Aaron Ramsdale should definitely do better with that goal. It was deflected, but he has to do better. Nketiah gives the ball away, and it was kind of like our defending throughout was just a bit. We were giving the ball away a lot. Like both teams were making a lot of mistakes. Our second goal, we went from almost scoring an own goal and handing Chelsea the lead to just some beautiful play, counter-attacking up the pitch, intricate passing, Smith Rowe, beautiful finish. He is now the first under-21 player for Arsenal to score 10 league goals since Paul Merson in the late 80s. Like, this guy is having an incredible season. Him and Bukayo Saka are the first 2 under-21 players to both score 10 goals in a Premier League season for the same team since Ronaldo and Rooney. Like, these are some bloody good players. And what they did was they really put Chelsea to the sword, especially in the second half. Chelsea massively played into our hands. I thought the starting lineup was really quite... I think Tuchel thought maybe he could walk through this game. He played Sarr and Christensen alongside Reece James, with Azpilicueta and Alonso on the wings. And it meant they had zero width because Azpilicueta and Alonso weren't able to get through, especially as Saka was being told to drop as a wing back as well. And Sarr and Christensen were just absolutely all over the place. They brought on Thiago Silva to try and shore things up in the second half. It did not work. What really, really impressed me was the fact that Arsenal, despite being pulled back from a goal ahead twice, we managed to keep our heads, get the lead again, and secure the win. I think over the course of the last 3 games, we've created plenty of chances. We just haven't scored. Now, Crystal Palace was a one-off game. We were terrible, terrible. Brighton, we should have got something from. VAR fucked us, and we were pretty bad. And then Southampton, Fraser Forster had an unbelievable game. We were creating chances, we just winning games. This game is a proper, marker, especially, as I said, heading into games where we've got Man United at the weekend and West Ham after that. This puts us level on points with Tottenham with the same amount of games played. This North London derby coming up is going to be one of the biggest North London derbies in years.
Mirroring their stats, you both have 18 wins, 3 draws, and 11 losses in the league. You're on 11 points. Arsenal have a tight advantage on Tottenham as they won the North London derby 3-1. So yeah, as Roy was saying, this is going to be very important. But Roy, I wanted to ask you, Chelsea, we've praised their defensive skills over the season. One of the best defenses, not only in England, but in Europe. Over the last 6 games across all competitions, they have conceded 13 goals. So really not doing well with that back door. What's going on at Chelsea?
I think they were very much relying on individual players, and their depth isn't there. What amazes me is with a player like Sarr, so they've kept Malang Sarr, who, for all I could see, was just getting butchered by Saka every time he ran at him, but they sold Tomori. I'm like, really? You kept that guy, but you sold that guy? It seems like a kind of a weird decision to make. And you can also say the same thing about signing Lukaku and selling Abraham, right? I feel like still at times Chelsea don't trust their academy system. They like to say how good their academy system is. They like to say how many players they produce, but often it's for other teams. You'll be like, oh, he came from Chelsea, but he now plays for these guys, right? And I feel like still they have a little bit to learn on trusting their youth players. I think the defense was great, but they just rely, once one piece is missing, it starts to look a bit shaky. Rudiger wasn't playing, and all of a sudden the whole thing falls apart. I think Azpilicueta definitely, it got to him. He, boiled over last night. He gave away the penalty at the end. Now, Saka definitely went down very easy, but Azpilicueta is far too experienced to be doing something like that. Saka's the only player in the box. Azpilicueta is literally holding him back, stopping his run. Saka said it in the post-match interview. He said, he's asking me to go down. What am I... he's holding me for 5 seconds in the area. I'm going to go down. That's his fault. And I think it's absolutely spot on. I think he ended up arguing with a Chelsea fan coming off the pitch. But there's 2 players that I want to shout out for the Arsenal performance that aren't the kind of headlines. One is Rob Holding. This guy, technically, he's not the most gifted. He gives the ball away a lot. He is never going to play for England. But defensively, he is solid. He won 5 out of 6 of his duels. Every time he plays, we are much more. I don't know if solid is the right word, but we're able to defend situations. We're able to like prevent goals more. There's a lot more last ditch tackles. He's very, very good at kind of taking strikers out of games and just keeping them quiet. I thought he was fantastic last night, even if Lukaku made it a little bit easy for him. And the other player is the Pyramid Pirlo himself. Whenever we need him, he turns up. Mohamed El-Neni, man. The guy, like, again, not the most technically gifted player. He passes sideways and backwards far too much for me. But every time he comes in for a big game, he just puts a shift in and kills it. He did it against United at Old Trafford, and he did it at Stamford Bridge last night. I honestly love the guy.
Wow, the Pyramid, the Pirlo.
I was trying to call the Ramadan Summit what as well? Oh, those Ramadan Summit as well. I can't remember what it was. But he absolutely killed it last night. He was like, and again, a kind of decision that Tuchel made that just made it a little bit easier for us. Kante, alongside Ruben Loftus-Cheek, who I still think is one of the most overrated players going. It is mad. Kante could not cover that midfield on his own. Loftus-Cheek is just his career's. You can see it disappearing from him. He had a bad night last night, and we just completely overran the midfield. Also, Granit Xhaka. He gets lots of stick when he plays badly. He gets lots of stick when he makes bad decisions. Last night was a world-class performance from him. He was unbelievable. If you watch how he gets the ball out of the Arsenal box to set up the second goal, he nutmegs Alonso in our penalty area to take it out into the midfield. That's like the kind of highlight reel moment, but just how he ran that midfield was incredible. So I think he gets lots of stick, but he was great last night. And Arteta, whenever you think he's getting close to it, he just pulls a result out the bag. The tactical flexibility last night was fantastic. We went from 4 at the back to 3 at the back to 5 at the back. He was barking orders at the players to remind their positioning. Like, he knows how to get results. With young teams, you're always going to get inconsistency. Hopefully, we just carry this now into Manchester United, who I am absolutely terrified of, but they got their shorts pulled down in front of the whole school and were embarrassed.
Look, I just wanted, since we're talking about Manchester United, I needed to address this. You have no idea how much Harry Maguire has become like a staple meme of social media. The other day, I actually before the Easter holidays, with kids who are 10 years old, my students, I split them into groups to create different teams. And I was like, come up with a funny name for your team. Not one, but 2 teams wanted to call themselves the Harry Maguires. And they said, why the Harry Maguires? And they were just like, don't you know the meme with the voice saying, Harry Maguire? And him just doing something that shouldn't belong to a football pitch. In the game against the Norwich, he kicked the Pogba in the face.
Oh, have you seen him before the game? He stretches as well, doing that movement.
He was preparing for it. He was preparing for it. But look, it's all fun and banter. I think it's all deserved. But news just broke out that apparently Harry Maguire and his family got a bomb package delivered to their house, and the police are currently investigating it. So yes, crossing the line. However, all the memery is absolutely justified. Let's keep it like that.
Yeah, and this is the line, right? You have a meme about someone being a little bit clumsy, and there's always some absolute psychopath out there who has to take it too far. Like, I think like things like that are obviously despicable. You don't even need to say it. Like, Jesus Christ, what is happening in the world? But not even and he came out before this Liverpool game and tried to defend his performances and be like, there's a reason why I keep getting played. I'm obviously playing well. All the managers have played me. And refused to admit that maybe he might not be in the best form. And I think some players, other players in that situation, like, I'm going to pick an Arsenal example because it's a one I know, but when Thomas Partey was playing terribly at the beginning of the year, he turned around and went, yeah, I've been playing 4 out of 10. I need to get better. I know my form hasn't been good enough. The team deserves better. And a bit of humility would have really helped, because what he does is he comes out and says, nope, I've been playing well. Managers have been picking me. There's no problem here. And then is one of the main culprits in an absolutely abject performance yet again as captain. Shows zero desire. I think, look, with Man United, we've talked about it. I feel like I've said this sentence so many times. We've talked about it so many times. But There is not one player in that squad, honestly, that if I'm Ten Hag, I'm going, right, I'm keeping you. Because they've either shown a lack of ability or they've shown a lack of attitude. There's not a single one. Fernandes had that great start, right? But he's shown his attitude to be terrible. Ronaldo, Maguire, all of them, they've shown that they do not give a shit about that club. They do not give a shit about goals, performances, achievement. I think the Ten Hag has got, and we had a question from AFC Finners, how long will it take Ten Hag to turn United around? I don't think they'll give him the time it needs to turn it around. I think that's the bigger issue. He will take years to turn this around. I think you need 6-7 transfer windows to get this squad back to fighting up with Liverpool and Man City. It's not only Arsenal have seen it, shifting players that people have seen have been terrible is incredibly difficult. We are still trying to do it, and we've had to pay other teams to take our players. I do not think the Glazers are going to do that. They are taking money out of the club. They are not going to be spending money to get rid of these players. I think it's going to be such a big job getting rid of a lot of them. Yes, a few of them like Pogba, their contract's up at the end of the season, but if it was just him, you could move on, but it's not. And I think alongside that, they then have to back the manager and allow him to have control of the recruitment. Now, they've sacked their chief scout and the head of recruitment this week, but then Gary Neville came out on Twitter and said, well, they've been marginalized anyway. They hardly had a say. Like, the recruitment was decided by other people. I think what United do with players by signing the big name, this is what they've done with the manager. I think they've gone, everyone was saying Ten Hag. Everyone was saying Ten Hag. Let's get him and then it'll be fine. And I think they'll get him, but what they need to do is they need to back him. They need to allow him to have that philosophy. They need to give him the time. I just do not think they will do it. I think this is going to be... I think Ten Hag is incredibly brave for taking this job because not one manager since Ferguson has come out of that club with a better reputation than when they left, and not one player has come out of that club with a better reputation than before they signed. Like, it is incredibly brave of him to take that job. I think the bigger issue United fans will tell you are the Glazers. It's not... The rest of it just feeds down from that. So I think, sorry, United fans, if you're feeling optimistic, I think you'll see an upturn. You'll see...
Against Arsenal?
Yeah. This is the timely boost. But I think, you'll see an upturn next season, and you'll probably get Champions League next season. But I think if you're looking at challenging for the title again, I do not think they'll give him the time it requires for him to get there. And I think also a lot of teams around you are getting better. Tottenham are getting better. Arsenal are getting better. Like, not only do they have a 10-yard, what's the opposite of a head start? They have like a 20-yard deficit. They then have teams that actually build the momentum around them. I think Ten Hag is very brave to take this job. But this all comes from Liverpool, one of the most casual and breathtaking performances I've ever seen. Liverpool, this is peak Klopp Liverpool. I think this is the best they've been. The performances they are doing now, beating City in the FA Cup final, going 3 goals up or whatever it was, FA Cup semi-final.
Yeah.
Absolutely spanking United at home. This is the best that a Liverpool Klopp team has been. Thiago, oh my God. There is no player who plays like he does. There's no player who sees the passes that he does. And not only does his performance against United was incredible. Not only was it the passing, it was the fact that he was throwing himself into tackles, winning the ball back. He had a slow start in the Premier League, and people, maybe even myself, I'd have to go back, were kind of writing him off and saying, is this guy cut out? Maybe he can't get used to the Premier League. Maybe the pace is too quick. Well, this guy has absolutely figured out the tempo of this league. And I don't even know if he broke a sweat against Manchester United. Klopp had the quote of, even when we weren't in control, we were in control. I think the first 10 minutes after the second half, United had the ball. Liverpool were a bit passive. They were still completely in control of the game. And I think the second goal for Liverpool, you must have seen it by now. The passing is unbelievable. Just a beautiful, beautiful goal. That Mane pass as well for one of the goals is incredible. And it's just, this is an elite team, one of the greatest ever Premier League teams. And they honestly, would you say they couldn't win the quadruple? Like, they've beaten City now. They're the only team that are close to him. Like, in the final, they've got Chelsea. I think they should beat Chelsea. If Arsenal could beat Chelsea, Liverpool can beat fucking Chelsea. Like, they've got Villarreal in the Champions League. We said that's tricky, but they should get through that. Like, I don't see a team that beats them at the moment. And with the attacking options they've got 5 world-class attackers now, I think. They've got Jota, Diaz, Salah, Mane, and Firmino. I think Jota and Diaz, if they're not world-class yet, they are knocking on that door and kicking it down. Their performance is at least a world-class. Like, when you've got 5 options off the bench that any team in the world would take off you, you're doing all right.
Yeah. Can you name the only 3 teams able to defeat Liverpool this season?
Oh, Jesus. One of them was Brighton? No.
Leicester, West Ham, and Inter Milan.
Oh,
only one at Anfield. Yeah, only one of the 3 at Anfield. Guess which one? It accounted for nothing because we were still eliminated from the Champions League.
I think that was a big moment in the season. But yeah, that means that the title race is still now. Man City went and beat Brighton 3-0 after that. Fairly comfortable. First half, very nervous. 2 deflected goals, comfortable in the end. It means that City are still 1 point ahead. This title race is going to the wire. City need to win every single game. They cannot afford to slip up at all.
Possibly not play their goalkeeper, Zach Steffen, ever again in the season because the game against Liverpool.
That was painful, that was the warning. You had the warning from Edison. You had the warning in the previous game, and then Zach Steffen doesn't quite have it. He goes to take that touch, doesn't make the contact. Done. And it's but for Man United and this top 4 race, I think United now, it all goes down to this weekend. If they don't beat Arsenal, they're out of it. I think some United fans would say they're out of it already anyway. The top 4 race is going to go down to the wire. The title race is going to go down to the wire. But the relegation battle might kind of be done. And I think the Everton owners maybe owe the Burnley owners any money they get from finishing in the Premier League this year, because Burnley have just basically confirmed their own relegation by sacking their greatest ever manager. It's insane. So Everton got a last minute equaliser against Leicester last night through Richarlison. They conceded in the 5th minute and scored in the 92nd, but that now means that they are level on games with Burnley. Both played 31 games, but they are 4 points ahead on 29 points as Burnley are on 25. I think the teams that are in the bottom 3 now, they are the 3 that go down. Leeds still need to keep going to make sure they stay out of it, but I think the 3 that are there are the 3 that go down. And for Burnley, this is just an unbelievably mad decision. So like Sean Dyche, he was there since 2012. He took over 425 games he's managed, 152 wins, 114 draws, and 159 losses. Now, of those over 12 years, they had 7 years in the Premier League, including their first European campaign since 1967. And across that 12-year period, right, or across his time in charge of the squad, his net spend is 76 million.
Wow. Like, that's an incredible number, yeah.
He has done it on a shoestring, and he has transformed that club. Like, they had a stint. No, they didn't. No, they were just championship. They were just a championship team, and he came in, got them promoted. They were relegated. They stuck with him. He got them promoted again, and he has molded that team. Now, you can whether you like that mold or not, right, is not the issue. It was kind of long ball, old-fashioned football. It was described as like Brexit FC, if you know what I mean. But regardless of whether you like that mold or not, he was incredibly, incredibly successful. And the fact that they've sacked him and not even had someone lined up to replace him, so they've just had their youth manager taking charge, you've just handed the team above you survival. I think Everton fans are going to be thinking, oh, that is there's a church very, very close to their stadium. They're thinking, that was the kind of intervention we needed, because it was going to be a lot closer if Dyche was in charge. So I think that's an utterly, utterly mad decision. If you're a Burnley fan, you're going to be incredibly pissed off. And all of a sudden, if they'd have gone down with Dyche, you're thinking, okay, well, they've got a chance of coming back up. They'll probably come back up. With God knows who in charge, you're thinking, okay, will they come back up? Are they going to be another club that kind of keeps falling? Like, their new owners, from what I gather, aren't particularly well liked. So yeah, a bit of a mad time for Burnley, and it kind of seals the relegation battle, I think. But that's all of the Premier League.
Very nice. We are going to jump on with our friend Uncle Sharma. He's a YouTuber. He's very active on Twitter. And we're going to talk everything about Inter Milan. And he's also going to keep us company for the end of the episode, when we are going to preview this weekend's Premier League and Serie A action. I hear a phone ringing. Doo-doo-doo, doo-doo-doo, doo-doo-doo. It must be Uncle Sharma. Talk to you soon, guys, on the weekly topic.
It's weekly topic time. And for the OG listeners, the people that have been here from day one, we've got one of our very first guests back on the show. It's been a long time coming. Tommy's been desperate to talk about Inter. I think now in a kind of happier mood than possibly 4 weeks ago. But it is our pleasure to announce and say we have back Uncle Sharma. Mate, how are we doing?
Very, very well. Thank you for having me on, guys. Yeah, it was... I remember coming on in the beginning of your podcast, and yeah, coming back on is nice to see how you guys have grown since then. So shouts out to you guys, first of all. Very consistent and very high quality content from you guys.
Thank you, mate.
It means a lot. Honestly, it feels honestly like a lifetime ago, right? It's like nearly knocking on 2 years now, Tommy. Can you believe it?
Yeah. No, man. It's been a while. And I would start right away off the bat before we go to talk about Inter Milan specifically. How are your projects doing, Uncle Sharma? For the new listeners, where can they find you? How have you been holding up?
Yeah, still doing my YouTube. So if you're interested in any Inter-related content or Serie A, I try to do Serie A content as well on my YouTube channel, Uncle Sharma. And yeah, the other day I hit a milestone of 3K subscribers, which was very nice to
Holy
hit.
Shit! Congrats,
Yeah,
man.
I saw that, man. That's nice. That's nice.
So yeah, just continuing to do that, and yeah, just trolling Milan fans recently on Twitter. So you find me on Twitter at @ourshams.
Nice. Yes, if you don't support Inter Milan, Uncle Sharma's Twitter is quite intense. I personally love it. But so, why have you been trolling AC Milan fans? Tell me, Uncle. Tell me more about this.
Just probably just that little 3-0 win we had against them the other day. 2 seasons in a row now we've beat them 3-0. So, the Milan is definitely black and blue. So yeah, it feels good. It feels good. And as you said, you guys were you were inviting me about maybe 3 or 4 weeks ago when things weren't looking so good. And it was going to turn into a deep therapy session, I think, like a sad therapy session. But today, I think it was going to be a lot more positivity going around, thanks to that, especially that 3-0 win.
Yeah, look, what I've learned is that I'm a very pessimistic Inter fan. And Uncle and a lot of other Inter fans that I know, they were just like, Tommaso, calm down, it's okay. But after that defeat against the Sassuolo, I was just like, we've hit rock bottom. This one cannot happen at the San Siro. We made it kind of our fortress last year with Conte. This year, we cannot allow Sassuolo to win here. So what gave you hope at that moment in the season where there was no hope for me to be found?
Well, I think it was just the fact that this is still, the core of the team is still this Scudetto winning team. So the shit surely is like it can't drop off. And then there was those 2 months, if you remember, Tommy, like we were, the best team in the league by a margin. We were like outplaying teams, and visually we were better than Conte's team. Like we were still solid defensively, but we were playing even nicer football. So it was like, we can't just forget how to play football, even though it did look like it. And then at the same time, you have to remember our schedule, our fixture list was crazy. Like end of January, and February, we had like big match after big match after big match. Like it was, we had the Champions League, we had Liverpool, which should have been Ajax, but ended up being Liverpool, as we know.
Very true.
It was definitely like the hardest draw you could have got as well.
Yeah.
Like hands down the hardest draw. Yeah.
And we did quite well. I think we gave a good showing of ourselves. But of course, I think we put everything into that Liverpool match, and then we lost 2-0. And then we lost. Then we had Milan straight after, and then we lost that. We dominated the game, and then 75th minute changed, and I think that was a big mental blow, as Inzaghi admitted a few weeks after that. We're still licking our wounds from that defeat. Giroud getting those 2 goals, and then they'll continue. The big matches continued, and the players got tired. So I think it was just. I was just thinking. We need for once I wanted the international break. I was like, give us the international break. Let these guys physically recover. Inzaghi, I think, needed to rotate a little bit more, which he started to do now. And I think now, we can see the team looks a lot more fresher, and mentally, I think we've recovered. So that's what my hope was, and it's worked out. And Correa coming back from injury, I think people underrated him missing from the team a lot as well.
So do you think we kind of mentioned it before in the previous part of the pod? I remember everybody who's watching on YouTube, you can actually find the link to the full episode right below. And if you're listening on the pod and you want to look at our beautiful faces, just look for our channel on YouTube. But we were just discussing the fact that maybe this Coppa Italia semi-final derby was a decisive factor in another competition, which is Serie A. Do you think this is the morale boost that we needed? What I said is that besides everything else, what I loved the most of this game was the attitude that Inter walked on the pitch with. What are your takeaways from these 90 minutes of football?
Yeah, I think we had to beat them, the fact because it was the 4th derby this season, and we had this season we haven't beaten them because last 4 or 5 years we've been dominating the derby, but this year it hasn't been that good. So it was good to actually finally get that win over them, and a convincing win. And as you said, I think just as their win against us in the league kind of threw us off for a whole month afterwards, I think this defeat for them could be like a big killer in their Scudetto run in the coming weeks, and give us that mental boost going into it. And I think it just shows, we know, I think as Interisti, we know that we are better than them on paper, and then in the derbies we've seen that we've played better than them in most of them, and we just haven't got the result. So this one was the moment that it just convinces you, yes, we're the better team, we've got better players, better performance, and we should be the deserving Scudetto winners by the end of the season. So I hope, that's how it works out by the end of it.
Knocking on all the wood I can find around me.
Well, I think it also says a lot that despite the fact that you went through that rough patch, with the form and a really rough run of games, that they didn't run away from it, or they didn't run away with it. You're still in with a shout. And I think that says a lot about the fact that the character of the team and the teams around you. Are you surprised that you're still in it despite that run of form? Do you think it says a lot about the league?
Yeah, 100%, bro. I think this season is going to be, obviously I'm going to be happy if Inter win, of course, but whoever wins it, I think is going to be the team that was the least bad.
Yeah.
Because everyone's just been dropping. At one point there was Napoli, they were top, they were unbeaten at the beginning of the season, and then just dropped off. Inter, as I said, we went on an amazing run, then we dropped off. Milan in this period could have, if they got their shit together, could have run away with it. They could have, been clear, but no one. At one point, it seemed like no one wanted to win it. I am surprised that we're still right there, and we still got that game in hand against Bologna. That finally, we're going to get to play next week. So I think, it was surprising, but at the same time, I think this is the reason why I think we should win it, because the level of our opponents, I don't think, is as high as we were hoping at the beginning of the season. It's a very good Serie A season as a neutral and to watch, but I think as we've seen in Europe as well, the quality of the team isn't quite that high.
I know we were talking about it off mic. I know that you kind of rejoiced of the fact that finally Simone Inzaghi started Correa, that is now back from injury, together with Lautaro. Can you repeat your take on our partnership up front?
Yeah, partnership in inverted quotes, because those two, I don't know, Do they even speak to each other, or do they like, I don't know, they just go on the pitch and just hope? Like, I just feel like they have, especially when we came from a Lukaku Lautaro partnership, Tommy. You know how good that partnership was for 2 years, and they seem to have this kind of, brainwave partnership where they just know where each other is without even talking. And then Dzeko Lautaro is just complete opposite. They just no understanding, no chemistry, and I think and the fan base is split over the two. A lot of people blame. They say Dzeko is the one that steals the limelight or tries to do too much, so it's not Lautaro's fault. And then there's the other part of the fan base that says it's Lautaro's fault. He should be able to support Dzeko better. And I think both sides are right, to be honest. But I just think they don't belong together, and that's why, as I said, Correa coming back, he's that glue. And the stats show it. It's all coincidence that Inter, when he starts, they have 10 out of 10 wins when Correa started this season. And he's not like a world-class player. He's not. And I don't think he's ever going to be. He's 27 years old. He is what he is. But he's just adds that little bit of, technical ability. He's able to drop in deep and take people 1v1, which no one in this Inter team can do. He just adds something a little bit different to the team. And I hope he stays fit. Fingers crossed he stays fit this till the end of the season, because that's been the problem with Correa. He's just been very injury prone this season, unfortunately.
Well, I feel like that's kind of the wider problem throughout his career, right? Is that he does miss large parts of games. But I feel like going back to the Liverpool game, there was moments when you really could have done with him, when you saw Martinez going up against Van Dijk or Dzeko just running out of ideas, and they were looking for each other. And you're like, you need that person who's just able to take the responsibility, get those extra yards, and get the ball in the box. Personally, I really, really hope he does well, because I made an awful trade in Fonte on the face of it. Deulofeu for Correa. So I'm really hoping Correa. I know, man. I don't know what I was thinking. So I'm really hoping Correa comes in the second half of the season. I have seen a lot of I think the word's propaganda on Twitter. I've got a lot of time for it.
Look, and I think that Correa coming back is coming at a pretty good moment of the season where we're witnessing he's still an Inter favorite, but we're witnessing an Hakan Çalhanoğlu drop of form. What do you think has happened there? Because a lot of Inter fans, well, of course, they kind of love the move still from AC Milan and Inter Milan. And I'm the first in line. When he left the pitch the other day at the stadium, everybody was singing Hakan, just like clapping their hands. But what is your take on Çalhanoğlu? The overall contribution he's given this season, do you think he's still got something in him to end the season strong and possibly score a few important goals more?
Yeah. I think with people, people try to focus too much on his goal contributions and things like that. Which I think he's top 3 in terms of goals and assists contribution in the team this season, after Dzeko and Lautaro, which is quite. If you told that to me when we signed him at the beginning of the season, I would have laughed in your face. But yeah, I think if the derby, he wasn't good the other day against Milan. I think he was trying maybe too hard. But I think I've been impressed with what he does off the ball as well now. Like, he's become a complete midfielder, which I wasn't expecting from him. Like, he puts in a lot of like good tackles, and he goes in for the 50-50s and battles really well. Like, even if he doesn't play too well, we know that obviously he's a drop off in terms of quality compared to Eriksen. But I think he's done quite well. I don't even think that drop off that people are talking about has been that bad to me, in my honest opinion. I think he's going to be, still an important factor to play in the coming games.
Let's take a look at so of course the Coppa Italia final is going to be against Juventus on May 18th, I believe. I'm going to double check right now. Well, yes, it's always Juventus. It's a final. It gets a bit nerve-wracking whenever these approaches. But at the same time, I was telling Rory, Inter could have a saying in a 0-title season for Juventus. So I guess that's the exciting bit. How do you feel about this final?
Yeah, I mean, it's we played Milan 4 times this season. Now we're going to play Juve 4 times this season. I'm sick of these big matches now, and my heart can only take so much. But Juve,
on the 11th of May, by the way. Sorry, continue.
Oh, that's quite
soon, eh?
Yeah.
That's
3
really
weeks.
That's really, really soon. I don't know about you, Sean, but I think like the last Juve game was absolutely terrible by all intents. Like, as a game of football, it was an absolute aberration. Obviously, Inter got the result, and that's kind of all that matters. But do you think we should expect something different? Because I think Allegri is going to go into overdrive with this, like, cynical ball in a final, right?
Yeah. I mean, we beat them at their own game, like in that game, because we had like 35% possession, and we just sat back at 2 shots on target. But yeah, I think it's going to be more of the same, to be honest. That's why I'm not really looking forward to it. I think it's going to be another just awful game for the neutrals. I mean, it was good to watch in terms of there was a lot of tackles going in, a lot of arguing,
talking points.
Talking points.
And a lot of fouls. It barely looked like football. But are you optimistic? So going into this final?
Yeah. I think weirdly, like Inzaghi, even from his Lazio days, he seems to have a really good record against Juve and Allegri, and he's showing that this season. I mean, we beat them already in the Super Cup final. We beat them away at their stadium. So yeah, I think I'm confident going into it. But again, it's not. I don't think it's the. Obviously, the main goal is the Scudetto, so the full focus will be on that. But yeah, making Juventus have a title-free or zero titoli season, as Jose would say, it would be icing on the cake.
This is a nice little leeway, because Italian newspapers, of course, they're trying to jinx it by talking about the eventuality and the likelihood of a tripletino, which would be the domestic treble with the Super Cup, the Coppa Italia, and hopefully the Scudetto. And there would be something in common with the original triplete, because the last Serie A match day would be on May 22nd, the day in which, in 2010, Javier Zanetti lifted Inter's third ever Champions League. But so I'm just going to read the remaining fixtures that we have until the end of the season, and then I would like your take. Who are the most bitter rivals that we're going to face? And we're going to talk about that. So we've got this Saturday, Jose Mourinho taking a trip to his old stomping ground in San Siro. So we've got Inter Roma. On Wednesday, finally, the game in hand that everybody has been waiting for, Bologna-Inter, so we can finally look at an even table. Then we've got Udinese-Inter, Inter-Empoli, the Coppa Italia final against Juventus, and then Cagliari and Sampdoria. It looks like a pretty comfortable run of fixtures, with Roma possibly being the only big name there. But do you feel like there could be some unexpected slip on the way?
Yeah, man, Udinese, I just hate them.
They are the biggest pain in the arse team, right? They're the biggest
pain in the arse. They're such terrorists, man. Like these guys will just sit. They've already achieved safety, so they have nothing to play for. So they will just, play their game. Which, fair play to them. They do what they need to do. But it's like, I just see us, maybe struggling to score against them, just because they're such a difficult team to break down when they really sit back. But also, the situation at the bottom, I hope it gets resolved pretty soon, because before it looked pretty done, but now Sampdoria, like, they're dropping into like a relegation fight. They looked pretty safe, but now Salernitana just out of the blue yesterday, just revived their survival hopes, and Cagliari won against Sassuolo last week, so it's got a little bit tighter than we expected at the bottom. So I hope that Cagliari and Sampdoria, those last 2 games, they don't have anything to fight for by that time, because then it could be, and those 2 games could be really tricky, man.
It's good that we have the last game at the San Siro, while AC Milan, if I'm not mistaken, will be playing Sassuolo away on the last match day. Do you think, Uncle, there is the possibility, yes, they will be playing Sassuolo away. Do you think there is the possibility that everything, the title race, will go down to the very last match day?
I think so. I've been saying for a while. I think it could be an Aguero type moment happening in Serie A.
I was just thinking then, Tommy, we need to get on tickets for that last game of the season, just in case. We need to try and get that secured straight away.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Is there any possibility you will visit Italy sometime soon? We can go to the San Siro together, maybe?
Yeah, I would like to, but at the moment it's difficult, because I would have loved to go for that last game, the Sampdoria one, but one of my friends is having his stag do at the same week.
You got to pick one or the other. So that could be a very busy day for you, Uncle.
Yeah, I know. I'm going to be checking my phone whilst. Yeah. Also doing whatever people do on the stag do.
And so this is the situation until the end of the season. Let's talk a little bit about summer transfers, sort of wish list for Inter Milan. Starting from the manager, I would start. Is Simone Inzaghi set to stay? Do you think that's kind of accepted at the club? He's going to be the manager at Inter for the next season as well.
Yeah, 100%, man. Like, I mean, unless he has like a crazy fall off the next few games, but I think, as he keeps saying now, which is a little bit annoying that he keeps mentioning that, but the target that he was set by the club was get top 4, round of 16 Champions League, get as far as possible in the Coppa Italia, and he's done all of those things. And yeah, if he gets the Scudetto on top of that, like, he's improved from what Conte did in the Champions League. Let's not forget, Conte didn't get out of the group stage for two seasons. People keep discounting, because I think once you get out of the Champions League, you forget about it. But we had a good run in the Champions League. We gave a good account of ourselves, even against Liverpool. Coppa Italia, we've done better than Conte did as well, because Conte stopped in the semi-final both years as well. So we've improved, I think, the style of football as well. I think he deserves credit. He obviously had the Conte blueprint there to work with, but I think he improved on that. So I think he's definitely staying. And they said he was pretty much, there was a contract agreed, and it was Inzaghi who said he wanted to wait, actually, which was interesting. He came out and said that he asked the club to wait until the summer. I think the club already offered him the new contract, so I think I can see that happening in the summer.
By the way, I like how this team that for many years has played in the shadows of football with, I don't know, man, those years from when we won the treble until like 4 or 5 years ago, some of them were pretty woeful. I have to say that I'm happy that we're collecting final game experiences. So we had the Europa League final, which we lost, but it's still an experience. Then we had the Super Coppa Italiana, which we won. Now there is another one. And I think that's fundamental to build the personality, both on the national stage and on the international stage. Another thing I want to say about Inzaghi, I feel like he was much more poised as a player than his brother. But I feel right now as a manager, his crazy Inzaghi side is really coming out. Like the way he screamed at the referee during the derby, you could see it from the stands. We're just like, man, you need to calm the fuck down. You're going to get a red card sometime soon.
Yeah. People thought it was going to be like a drop-off from Conte in terms of passion on the sideline. But I used to see him at Lazio as well. Like I said to people, you're going to be surprised. This guy, you can see in the post-press conference, he's always lost his voice after the match. Every time his voice is gone.
Also, another very funny thing about Inzaghi, which I absolutely love, he's not a chubby nor a fat man, but he's got a double chin, which I think is incredible. I don't know how, like, all the fat that he has in his body is under his chin, which is pretty hilarious. Let's move on to the pitch itself, starting from a position that we need to figure the fuck out. Goalkeeper, I will let you go, Uncle. We've got Onana on the way. What is going to happen? Andanovic is kind of like stomping his feet, saying, I want to stay and I don't want to alternate with this new keeper, right?
Yeah, I mean, he's got an ego on him, Andanovic. He's very quiet, but whenever he speaks, he does usually fire some shots at fans. But yeah, we've needed to replace Handanovic for probably 2 seasons, I would say. But it's just one of those positions where you can get away. Like, you don't necessarily have to have a top keeper these days to win the Scudetto, as we saw last season. And he still comes out with good saves here and there. There's no denying that he's still a decent keeper when at some points. It's just that we know that his command of his box and his like decision making and his reflexes now are just pretty poor. So Onana, I think free transfer, that was a really good opportunity that I think we needed to take advantage of. But at the same time, if you've seen the AFCON and if you're seeing the clips that I'm seeing from Ajax the last few weeks when he's been starting again, I was expecting him to be rusty, because let's not forget he's been out for over a year because of that ban that he had. So I was expecting some rustiness, but now we're getting to the 3rd or 4th month that he's back into playing proper football, and he's still looking pretty rusty and shaky, bad decision making, and some pretty poor saves. So he's gonna need some time when he comes in. So I don't know if I feel like Tommy. I don't want to annoy you, but I feel like we're going to see Handanovic again starting for Inter next season.
There was one thing about him that impressed me. And I think it was you that shared it on your Twitter. The interview he had after one of the games, where he was just crazy, frank, and open, and was like, "Look, I've been out of the game for a year. Like, I'm not where I need to be. Like, I know I need to improve." I think that's one thing where I'm like, well, at least we talked about it at the beginning of this episode about how certain players aren't able to do that and aren't able to admit that they've been in bad form.
Was that Maguire?
And I thought at least there's that, right? He knows that he's not where he needs to be.
Did you just say the word Maguire?
Yeah, I'm guessing you guys were talking about Maguire.
You guessed it. You absolutely guessed it.
There you go.
But yeah, so I think at least he's got that, right? At least he's got that.
But imagine if their mindset is not there, what is a goalkeeping rivalry going to create? Like, you don't know if your spot is secured or not. You have to fight in training with the other guy. Guys, this is an appeal to Inter Milan. Figure that out, because one thing that I've always loved about this team is that we've always had world-class goalkeepers, and that position was always sorted. I have mad respect for Handanovic, because in those years that I was a season ticket holder for Inter Milan, I've seen some lineups, man, the Villas, the Schelottos, and all that. And Handanovic was the one keeping the ship afloat all the time. So mad respect for that guy. I've almost felt bad for him, because I was like, this guy would deserve so much more than what he's getting. He got the title, and right now I would like the acceptance from himself to be like, maybe I'm done. Maybe I should move on. Maybe I should go fishing. I can see him fishing on some lake or something. Just do some activities with your family. But let's move on to the defense. Is there any name in defense that you would let go if a proper offer was to come?
Yeah, you know the answer, man. Is the Vrij. Again, he's not even a disrespect to him or anything, because he's still, as he showed, the other day in the derby, I think he's been a little bit over criticized this season. But he's 29. I think he's gonna be 30. He's on his last year of his contract the next season, so I think it's time to cash in now if it's possible. And I think some Premier League team should go for him. I think he's could be a good quality addition for not much, not very expensive. So I wouldn't be surprised if Conte comes in for De Vrij, to be honest.
Yeah, I would be quite annoyed to see him arrive at Tottenham, to be honest. I'd be like, oh damn, they really are getting their shit together. Him and Romero could do really well together, I'll be honest.
Wow, that would be an interesting move from Serie A to the Premier League. What about midfield? What are our priorities? Are there any names you would let go? Any names that you've kind of set your eyes on? I think we need absolutely somebody to substitute what Brozovic does whenever that guy takes a breath off the pitch.
Yeah. Again, like the Handanovic, I think we've needed a vice Brozovic for 2 seasons as well. Like, the guy they always play he almost unless he gets injured or suspended, he plays every single minute. So I think if we are going to have to cut down on wages and have a little bit of a difficult summer in terms of incomings, I don't know why we shouldn't give the opportunity to Lucien Agume, the youngster who's on loan out at Brest in Ligue 1. I've heard that he's done quite well. He starts pretty much every single match for them. He was supposed to be in that same age group as Chouameni, all these guys coming up. He was the captain of that team in the France under-19, I believe. So he was supposed to be higher rated than all of those guys. So I wouldn't see why. And we do need to rejuvenate the squad as well. So low cost option already in the squad, so why not give him an opportunity to Agume? And then the Hakan position, as we mentioned earlier, he's done well, but if it's possible to upgrade on him, like Rodrigo de Paul is still my dream. It was painful to see him go to Atletico Madrid. From what I understand, we had everything agreed with Udinese for the same price that he went to Atletico, but we just didn't have the money to do to actually pull through on the deal. So, and I saw today a report linking us again to him because he's not a starter at Atletico. So that would be amazing. And obviously we need to replace Vidal's contract. Looks like he's going to be over, or they're going to pay him off to leave because he earns too much money to be a substitute. Vecinos is expiring, so we need 2 substitute midfielders coming in anyway. So those are definitely the priorities.
Well, this is something I think for Inter that, like, we were talking about it before we hit record about it is an aging squad. And there's one transfer that really, like, that's already been done that really jumped out to me, which was Gosens coming in. Of course, got his first goal during the week. But the player he's coming to replace, like someone like Perisic, do you think you'll get 1 more year out of him, 2 more years out of him? Because he's become, for me, he's one of my favorite Inter players. I love watching him. His output is ridiculous. I've got him in fantasy this year. I'm seeing his output is ridiculous. Like, do you think, is he another player that's going to be moved on, or do you think you can squeeze a little bit more out of him?
Yeah. He's like kind of that. He looks like, one of those obsessed footballers who's just gonna drag his career out because he's just. Yeah. He's ripped. He's like, takes care of himself. You can see he's like obsessed with like, he's got his own personal coach as well on Instagram. Okay. He's always posting about, and he's still, 33 years of age. Like he's the amount of sprints he does. Like this position, like usually, people that perform better as they get older, is the center mids, center backs, strikers maybe, but wingers or like wing backs usually.
Wing backs is such an intense role as well. Yeah. It's such an intense role. Yeah.
So yeah, it's a shame for Gosens that he's coming into. This guy is an absolute machine. So the only way I can see Gosens getting into the team at the moment is if Perisic, because he's both footed, to move out to the right maybe to fit Gosens in. So that's the only way I can see Gosens coming in. So I can see us offering at least a year or 2 contract to Perisic, which I hope we do.
And finally, let's move to the attack. And I will just ask you a question, and then I will let you go with whatever hopes and dreams and moves you would make. Lukaku, yes. Lukaku, no.
Yes.
Really? Damn.
Yeah. Bring him home. Bring the boy home.
I'm quite happy him eating up Chelsea's ever diminishing wage budget because that's running out pretty quick, I'll be honest.
No, bring him home, man. Yeah, right. Bring him home. The boy, like, I mean, I'm not saying like buy him, but like on a loan, if it's possible to like rip Chelsea off and just they pay half the wages as well, then 100%. But if they're talking about, we have to pay his full 13 million salary, whatever it is, and we have to maybe pay like an option to buy it, then no. If it's a loan, then yeah, bring him back. Because at the moment, the more time goes on as well, like yesterday, he looked really, when he came on against Arsenal, he looks like he's gained weight again.
Yeah, he was awful. Honestly, he was dragged off and he was sweating, and I'm surprised he'd built up a sweat. The guy barely moved. It was insane. It was insane.
Yeah, so I don't know if it's the fish and chips again that in England that's hitting him. I don't know what it is, in the English diet that's hitting him. He maybe needs to come back and eat some spaghetti in Milan. But yeah, there's a lot of like, variables with Lukaku where it's like we need him to first get back to that physical shape. And now we need to recover him mentally as well. Like the guy, we're talking about saving his career again, like basically what we did the first time around when we bought him from United. So, but to me, I think we should, if we can bring him back, we should. Otherwise, I think we need like the long-term replacement for Dzeko because he's 36. We can't keep playing Dzeko. And there's not too many names, to be honest, like out there. When people talk about it, it's like it's difficult to actually say who you actually want. But to me, I like Scamacca, the boy at Sassuolo. I think he's the future, like Italy number 9. But at the same time, Sassuolo are asking for 40 million, which is, I think, is too much for a guy who's this is his first proper starter season.
So they also have a weird relationship with Juve where they'll just give him to Juve for like £2 and like a promise, right?
Yeah, 10-year loan.
Yeah, 10-year loan, exactly, something like that. So Scamacca is one of the possible names. The thing that I think when I look at the Inter squad this year, which I think is also the big difference against Liverpool was that Liverpool just like kept bringing these big names out of the bench. Yeah. We don't have that in our attack. As much as I love the guy Alexis Sanchez, I believe that that's a pretty heavy wage bill that I don't know if he can sustain. Who do you think Satriano, the Uruguayan, has been doing quite well over at Bastia? Who do you think could replace Sanchez? Do you think he should be replaced or not to start with?
Yeah, definitely. I think similar to Vidal, I think his wages are just too much for what they offer now at their age, and they're injury prone as well. So I think the Sanchez one is probably going to be Dybala coming in, to be honest. I think he's going to be Sanchez out, Dybala in, because it's pretty much the exact same wage.
Yeah.
And he's 28, Dybala, although he is injury prone as well. So I see
Holy
pretty
shit,
much like for like.
is he injury prone? That's the thing. I feel like the second he gets injured, I will get pissed off if he comes to Inter Milan.
But if him and Correa can, like, alternate their injuries.
Yeah, they can just have an agreement, right?
Yeah.
But look, I like that idea of just like these three Argentinians up front, Correa, Dybala, and Lautaro. That would be pretty exciting. But the big question, Uncle, if Diego Simeone comes to you with 80 million and says, "I want the Wonder Boy, Lautaro," what do you do? Do you kick Lautaro in the butt or not?
Yeah. I pull up to Asari's house and drive him to Madrid.
So it is going to be a summer that, if again another summer where if the good offer comes, players are going to leave.
Yeah, I think it's going to be another one, unfortunately. I think until Suning Inter, unfortunately, I think we're going to have these summers where Marotta and Ozil are going to have to make miracles every summer of like selling, but not reinvesting the same amount they sold for. So if we sell Lautaro, I feel like we're probably going to reinvest half of that. So not as bad as last summer where we sold for like 170 and we spent about 40. I think it's going to be like, if we sell Lautaro for 80, I think we'll probably reinvest like 40 into like someone like Scamacca. So that's what I see happening.
All right, so let's just go win these two remaining titles and then brace ourselves for a long summer once again of opening the newspaper every morning and being like, please, no, please. Oh, damn it, he's gone. He's gone.
Don't buy the newspaper. Just save your money.
All right, before we jump to the end of the episode where we're going to preview the Serie A and Premier League games, I have one final question for Uncle. You can make it as short as you want. It's for AC Milan fans. You know that AC Milan fans are already putting their hands forward. They're saying that if Inter were to win this title would have been decided by the referees. Mainly, they are pointing at the Udinese game where Doge scored with his hand. They are pointing at the Spezia game where they were disallowed a goal and then Spezia actually won it. They are pointing at this incident that happened in the Coppa Italia semi-final. Uncle, what do you say to a spiteful AC Milan fan at this moment in the season?
Keep crying. Have some more salt here. I'll give you some more sodium. Like, this is ridiculous, man. Like, I think it is one of those things. I can see why, when we used to do the same with Juventus, I can see, the winners are always hated more than everyone else, aren't they?
Mm-hmm. And they are calling Inter Milan the new Juventus, which to me every time is just like a little I don't know. I feel like our clubs are really different. But we've gotten to the end of the episode. Uncle, we'll let you stay here with us as we preview the weekend across the Premier League. Rory, what have we got?
It all kicks off on Saturday at 1:30 Central European time, and I'm shitting myself because United are in the mud. And of course, they're coming up against Arsenal. So I am fully expecting them to scum a 1-0 win. David De Gea becomes Lev Yashin, and I'm crying in Saturday afternoon. I cannot see anything but that happening, unfortunately. Then there's a load of like derbies this weekend. We have Leicester taking on Villa on Saturday. We have Man City Watford. That's going to be a cricket score. It usually is when Man City play Watford. Norwich taking on Newcastle. Newcastle now, this year, have the second most points in the league. Only Liverpool have collected more. Eddie Howe properly turning them round with all that blood money. Then we've got Brentford taking on Tottenham and Burnley. Oh, no, that's on Sunday. So the last game on Saturday is Brentford taking on Tottenham. Really hoping Brentford gets something there. On Sunday, we've got Burnley hosting Wolves. Dyche-less. I think this is going to be more misery for Burnley. Then we have the derbies, Chelsea taking on West Ham. If West Ham gets something here, that third spot for Chelsea is looking more and more at risk. West Ham's record against Chelsea is actually pretty decent. We have Brighton taking on Southampton in a South Coast derby almost. Then the Merseyside derby, Liverpool taking on Everton. I think people are thinking this game's going to be harder than it's going to be. I think this is going to be a walk in the park for Liverpool. And then it all ends with Crystal Palace taking on Leeds United. I am bricking it about this weekend, but at least the game gets out of the way nice and early. If Arsenal lose, I can just sulk for the next 48 hours and it won't affect my work.
In Serie A, it all kicks off on Saturday afternoon at 3 p.m. with 2 games. Torino-Spezia, both teams are on the beach. Spezia not quite, yes, maybe a few more points, and they should be officially on the beach sunbathing. Venezia, instead, are struggling again. They're going to take on Atalanta, who are in poor forms, but they've been doing much better on the road than at home this season. At 6 p.m., it's the Jose Mourinho derby as Roma, the Giallorossi, travel all the way to the San Siro to see who is the better side. We will see one of the bigger obstacles for Inter Milan from here to the final match day. And then at 8:45 on Saturday, we've got Hellas Verona against the Sampdoria, who, as Uncle Sharma said, are kind of struggling at the moment, and Hellas Verona are a very good team. We've got then on Sunday, Salernitana, Fiorentina. Fiorentina, they've been doing really well recently. They've even defeated Naples on the road. However, Salernitana, they've won for the first time this season 2 consecutive games. Now it's looking like safety could be possible. Their manager, Davide Nicola, has said that if they were to make it, he would walk all the way from Salerno to Rome to meet the Pope. I looked it up. That's 274 kilometers, a 57-hour walk. He's already done something similar when he escaped the relegation with Turin. Good luck, Davide. At 3 p.m. on Sunday, we've got 2 games, Bologna-Udinese and Empoli-Napoli. Napoli are looking like they're out of the title race for now, but Inter and Milan have big games. We will see if they've got what it takes to keep their hopes alive. Genoa-Cagliari, big relegation battle at the 6 p.m. And at 8:45, another Rome versus Milan derby, as we've got Lazio AC Milan over at the Stadio Olimpico in Rome. And the Serie A all wraps up on Monday night at 8:45 with Sassuolo Juventus. Uncle, anything to say about this Serie A match day?
Yeah, no, there's a lot of things going to be decided, I think. So just looking forward to it for sure. I think the Inter Roma game is going to be spicy for sure with Mourinho. We beat them twice this season, so I'm sure Mourinho is going to be looking to get one over us at least this season. So,
yeah, we kind of spanked them both times. So
yeah.
I think Mourinho is going to create something. Roma's defense have been very good recently. But Uncle, it's been a pleasure to have you on. Thank you very much for agreeing to come here. I'm going to say goodbye to you now and thank you before Rory sends us off with our customary quote.
And the quote this week, I think it's the first time we've quoted the great man himself, and it's only because we've beaten Chelsea this week that I'm quoting him. It is Mikel Arteta, and as we try to figure out exactly what Arsenal are, he said, the guy who invented this game, he wanted to make us suffer, because when you expect something, something else happens. Have a good weekend, guys, and we will see you on Monday.
Talk to you soon. Bye-bye, Uncle Sharma.
Ciao.